Hey guys, it's Sarah from Just My Typewriter, and I want to talk to you guys today about curating your typewriter collection. And I should know a lot about it because I'm the crazy typewriter lady. So people who collect typewriters collect them for a lot of different reasons, and there's a lot of different ways to collect those typewriters and put them in your collection. I've been collecting typewriters for about a year now, and I have 16 different unique typewriters in my collection. I have everything from electric typewriters to portable machines, standard desk machines, and then I also have an IBM Selectric within my collection. So there are a lot of things to consider if you're getting into collecting, and here are a couple things to think about. People who collect typewriters can collect for a lot of different reasons and have different things that they're looking for within typewriters. People can collect based on brand, so you could collect all Royal machines, or type, you could get all portables or all standards or all electric machines. People also collect based on aesthetics, so if you're looking for something that's going to look cool on a shelf, you could collect a Hermes brand or an Olympia machine. Or people also collect based on use, so can I get a lot of use out of this machine? What kind of font does it have? How heavy is it? So there are a lot of things that people consider when looking at these machines, which also gives you a larger price range and area to look at when collecting those machines. My personal philosophy with collecting typewriters is never spend more than $25 on a machine, just because you don't know what kind of restoration you're going to get into when you're looking at a typewriter, and you're never really sure, what you're going to find in your area for how much. When buying machines, there are a couple different areas you can look at from collecting. So one of the first ones you can look at is antique stores, flea markets, and yard sales. So yard sales and flea markets, you can usually get a machine for a lot cheaper because you can negotiate the price. Antique stores are a little bit more difficult. So antique stores, in my experience, have been a little bit pricier on machines just because they have a lot of real estate that machine takes up. They can afford to keep it there for longer because they're inside, and they're waiting for the right buyer to come along for that machine. I've seen machines in these antique stores for $25. I've seen them in antique stores for $150. So it depends on what kind of antique store you're in, but it's definitely something to consider when looking for typewriters. You're gonna get something that's a little bit more pricey, probably in an antique store, but it also might be in better condition than something you get at a yard sale. So that's another thing to weigh in. A lot of people find typewriters at Goodwills. I've not had this kind of experience. I found one typewriter in my Goodwill and it was $80, and that's not something I'm willing to spend, especially at a Goodwill. Another place that people buy a lot of typewriters from is eBay. eBay has a lot of things that I would caution you with when you're buying a typewriter. First of all, is it can get really expensive. If you're looking for a very specific brand or very specific machine, eBay is an awesome place to go because you can keyword search based on that type of typewriter. However, what you're collecting might also be something that someone else is collecting. And that's something to consider if you get into a bidding war. You're gonna feel attached to that machine and maybe bid more than you're willing to pay for that real machine. So that's something to think about when purchasing from eBay. Another thing that is really big with eBay is the shipping cost. So machines can range in weight from anywhere from, I think this one's about 5 pounds, and this one over here is like 35 pounds. And that can be really expensive for shipping, especially if you give special instructions and want the typewriter shipped to you so it'll be safe. Posting typewriters can get really dangerous, so you can get things like broken corners on machines, broken carriage returns, or cracks in the case, and that's a huge thing to fix on a typewriter once you get it, and it might not have been that way before it was shipped to you. There are specific ways to pack typewriters that you're going to get a little bit of better luck, but a lot of people who buy typewriters off of eBay will post the tragic stories of those things getting ruined in transit once they receive them onto Facebook typewriter groups, and it's really sad to watch. So I personally have had a really positive experience on eBay buying typewriters, but I've only ever purchased one, and that was my first machine, my Smith Corona Corsair DeLuxe named Caroline. I spent about $60 on the actual typewriter and then plus shipping on top of that. I received the machine in perfect condition, I didn't have any issues, but I know that that's something that I would be concerned about if I were to buy more machines in the future, just because it gets really heavy to ship a machine. And if you get something like a portable that's in a case, sometimes people don't know that could be just as dangerous to the machine to ship in only the case, and they don't always pack them as well as they should. However, if you're looking for something very specific and you're willing to pay a little extra and give really specific shipping instructions, you might have a really positive experience on eBay. I purchased a lot of my personal typewriters on Facebook Marketplace. Now this is something that I found recently through the typewriter community, but Facebook has a marketplace option where you can buy and sell items. And if you go through there and keyword search typewriter, you're going to be surprised by how many listings you find. They can also range in price a lot, just because people have found that typewriters are more in fashion right now, so they think they can charge more for their aunt's old typewriter that they found in an attic, and that's not always the case. I've purchased 3 separate machines on Facebook Marketplace and have had really positive experiences and met some really great people. What's nice about Facebook Marketplace is it allows you to post a lot of pictures of the machine, and you can contact the seller directly through Facebook. So if you want more photos or are looking for something specific, you can get that specific information from messaging the seller. I also like that Facebook Marketplace allows you to look at things that are within a certain range of miles of your house or your location, so you can kind of determine how far you're willing to drive for a typewriter. I have a really crappy car, so I don't go more than an hour for any machine, but it is something that you can put into the search specs of what you're looking for. But there are also some things to look for when you're on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to end up with a lot of machines that need restoration. Perfect machines are going to be more expensive. I'm willing to put in the work to fix a machine instead of getting something that's already fully restored. If you're not that kind of person, you can also find the fully restored ones, but you're going to have better luck on things like eBay and antique stores than you are on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. I really like Facebook Marketplace and I will continue to purchase from there just because I can drive to the locations and actually talk to the people who own the machines. Another place that you can look for typewriters is Craigslist. A friend of mine and I purchased a Royalite, I believe, on Craigslist from Pittsburgh, and you can watch that video in our vlog, Going to Pittsburgh for a Typewriter. I'll link it below. But we met this guy, purchased the typewriter. It was a really great experience. Some people don't always have that when they're on Craigslist, but you can search for typewriter or antiques within Craigslist and find those items. Craigslist, I found that people don't post as many photos and they don't post as much in the details section of that item. So it's a little bit difficult to find exactly what's wrong with the typewriter or what you're looking for in the typewriter just because people don't post as much information. What I like about Facebook Marketplace over Craigslist is that I can directly message the seller through Facebook and it feels safe. Sometimes on Craigslist you have to message them through like their phone number, and that to me feels a little bit strange and like weird, but that's just personal preference. Another thing to consider when purchasing and collecting typewriters is how much work are you willing to put in them to be perfect. So I'm a mechanic's daughter, and personally I believe everything can be fixed with duct tape, but there are some things on machines that you should look for when you're purchasing them, just because there's some easy fixes and then there are some more difficult fixes that take a lot more work, and you have to kind of gauge how much time you're willing to put into a machine and how much money. Other things to worry about on typewriters are the Platens. Now this is a much harder and much more expensive fix, which is why I always check the Platen of a typewriter before I purchase. The Platen is the rubber part that the paper feeds through. I've had machines that have bumpy Platens, and you can watch that restoration video, I'll link it below. It was a bear to fix. And that just took so much time and was really labor intensive. But if you want to get a replacement Platen, it's also super expensive. I'll link below where you can buy those, but they're in the $100 range. And that's just way out of my price range for any typewriter that I want to fix, because if I'm looking at resale value, I'm not sure I can get that much for some of the machines that I have. Things like keys that are unlinked and space bars that don't work are things that you're going to have to take the typewriter apart to fix. Also, another thing to consider are the springs and drawbands on machines. So if your machine doesn't move freely from side to side and have some kind of tension on it, your drawband might be unhinged or your spring might be broken, and those are both fixes that can be kind of scary. I don't enjoy them personally. Reattaching a drawband, as long as it's not broken, is not that big of a deal, but if you take off that drawband and replace it and it still doesn't work, it means your spring is broken, and that is such a scary task that I have not done yet but will be doing soon on an Olivetti machine. It requires you to take the spring out, kind of mend it or fix it or replace it, and that's kind of a big job and very time intensive. So if you're not interested in putting a lot of labor into fixing your machines, you might want to look at something that's already fully restored, or keep your list of fixes to something you're capable of doing on your own and are interested in doing, and that'll kind of limit the number of typewriters that are available to you, but it will keep you from putting hours and hours and hours of time into a machine that you might be able to get fixed somewhere else. I also personally get a lot of my machines for free. Now, I'm labeled as the crazy typewriter person at work and in my family, so everybody who knows I like typewriters are looking for machines in their family attics and basements and giving them to me the second they find them. I would not have 16 machines in my collection if I didn't get most of them for free, just because I can't afford to purchase machines that are outside of that $25 range. That being said, typewriter collecting can be anything you want. I don't want to limit you and how you choose to buy your typewriters or what kind you get, just because I think it's such a free expression kind of activity and something that I really love and enjoy. And I hate when people get in Facebook fights over what kind of typewriters they should be collecting, just because I think it's something that you should do for yourself. So my collection is really diverse and I've got a lot of different things in it because of how I decide to collect. And other people might not be the same, but I think it's beautiful because all of these machines are getting homes, and that's what's most important to me. I want to thank you guys so much for sticking around for this video. I hope it was really informative and helpful for you. I've got a ton of links in the description if you want to look at some of the things we talked about today. If you are interested in more typewriter content, I've got more videos on this YouTube channel that you guys can watch. I also have an Instagram at just.my.typewriter, which you guys can check out. I posted a lot of pictures of my collection and other typewriter things that I'm working on, and that might be something you guys want to look at. I want to thank you so much for watching today and remind you that you are just my typewriter.